Trek.
Hey everybody, it's Benny One, and I'm back at you with another Star Trek movie review, everybody. And today we're moving on to the Kelvin Timeline trilogy, everyone. The last 3 Star Trek movies in my review series for these bad boys. So, we're moving on to 2009's Star Trek. So, a little backstory. This movie is what got me really interested in Star Trek, everybody. I had seen episodes of like Next Generation and the old Star Trek show on TV here and there periodically when I was growing up, but I wasn't what I would say, I wasn't like a Star Trek fan like I am now. And I remember First Contact being the first Star Trek movie I ever watched on TV as a kid. And I was like, okay, you know. But I saw a trailer for this, and I went to the movie theater to watch this opening weekend. And man, I gotta tell you, I felt like I went on a freaking action roller coaster movie ride. Because J.J. Abrams directed this movie, and he is well known for taking his freaking movie goers and watchers on a freaking roller coaster ride. High octane, action, fast paced, just funny. He's good at that kind of shit, and he's very good at reinventing and rejuvenating and just filling a franchise full of energy. He did it for Star Trek, he did it for Star Wars. Man, I gotta tell you what. So yeah, this movie is what turned me into a Star Trek fan, literally, like a big Star Trek fan. Because then I went back and watched all the TV shows, starting from the original one to the Next Gen era shows. Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Next Gen. I watched Enterprise, and I'm watching the new shows, and then all the movies I watched after the shows. Like, I became a fan. So this movie is the whole reason why I turned into a Trekkie Trekker. I don't know which one I would fall into. It's a weird discussion. So yes, this movie is directed by J.J. Abrams, like I said, and this movie is loaded with a freaking star-studded cast. Holy shit, loaded. Chris Pine plays James T. Kirk, and I'm going to just say that I think everybody that they cast to play these OG characters, for the first time that someone else played them, I think they all were pretty much perfectly cast. I really do. Like, some of them, they like spot on cast these people, like, perfectly. Yeah, Chris Pine is Kirk. Zachary Quinto is Spock. Phenomenal job playing a younger Spock. Phenomenal job. Carl Urban's Dr. McCoy. Wow. Fantastic. Zoe Salanda, she plays Uhura. She does a great job. Her and Spock have a relationship in this movie, which I think is very interesting. Anton Yelchin, he plays Chekhov, and he's actually Russian. Like, the actor is Russian, so he really fits Chekhov very well. Simon Pegg plays Scotty. Oh my god, dude. Scotty in this movie is fantastic. Perfect casting choice to play Scotty. Perfect. John Cho plays Sulu. Awesome. Yes, the guy from Harold and Kumar movies plays Sulu, and he is badass in these movies, everyone. He's badass. Bruce Greenwood plays Christopher Pike, because he is actually the captain of the Enterprise in this movie. So that's right, Kirk is not the captain. We will get to that, trust me. Eric Bana plays Nero. He's our villain. He's a Romulan from the future that gets thrown back in time. Leonard Nimoy is in this movie, everybody. He plays the older Spock that comes from the future with Nero. This movie's crazy, by the way. Winona Ryder is in this movie. She plays Spock's mom. And then Chris Hemsworth, before he got cast to play Thor, he was in this movie as freaking George Kirk, James's dad. Yeah, the cast is insane in this movie. Insane. So, the thing about this movie is it takes the timeline that was in all the other movies and because of something that happens with Nero and Spock from the future, they get sucked into this black hole, and Nero's ship goes back in time to when George Kirk was serving on another ship in Starfleet, and James wasn't born yet or anything, and their ship gets attacked by Nero, and they have to basically evacuate the ship, and the captain dies, so George becomes the captain for like the last 10 minutes that the ship is even there, and he has to fly because the autopilot goes out, and he has to basically save everyone on the ship and let the pods escape. And his wife literally is going into labor for their son to be born, who is James T. Kirk, everyone. And he has to fly the ship into Nero's ship. And it's a really cool scene. Like, it's one of the best scenes in the movie. It's one of the best directed scenes in the movie from JJ, that's for damn sure. And he literally hears his son being born. They pick his name, and he dies. He blows up because he flies the ship right into Nero's ship. And with that event happening, it set in place a new timeline, and it's called the Kelvin timeline. And I love that they did that, because it was smart of them to do that, because they could go back and tell a different story and version of these characters that were already well established. You had 3 seasons of a TV show and 6 movies. So, like, it was such a smart move on their part, and I think they handled it very well. Because our characters are all in different places. They all end up on the Enterprise. How they get into the positions that they're in is different. That's the thing, because this is a different timeline. Things are happen differently. Like, Kirk is not the captain of the Enterprise, and how he becomes the captain is way different than how it originally happened. So, and that's what I love about it. And the movie is fast-paced, high octane, lots of action, but it keeps that sci-fi Trek shit in the movie also. Like, I think this movie perfectly had a nice balance of the old school Star Trek sci-fi shit that fans love, but then JJ interjects that action, high octane, fast paced, funny dialogue with our characters into this Star Trek universe, and makes it a lot more accessible and watchable to people that aren't Star Trek fans, I guess. Because it turned me into a huge Star Trek fan, and I wasn't really a big Star Trek fan at all before I watched this. So, and I always tell people, like, if you like to get into Star Trek, I'm like, if you're even remotely interested in Star Trek, watch this movie. The new trilogy is probably a good spot for a lot of people to jump in and get into Star Trek. At least I think so. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's not right, but I just feel like it's easy for people that aren't into this kind of stuff to watch this kind of Star Trek movie. So, but yeah, the cast is great, phenomenal. Everybody does a great job, and of course, by the time the end of the movie rolls around, like, everyone is where they should be. Like, everyone is in their positions. Kirk is the captain. Spock is the number 1. Like, everywhere is where they should be, where they were with our normal timeline, but things have changed. Like, Vulcan gets destroyed in this movie completely. It totally gets destroyed. It gets sucked into a black hole because Nero shoots this red matter into it, and it destroys the planet. So, and we get to see some crazy interactions with Kirk and Spock, and because they didn't know each other, they hate each other. They hate each other's guts at first. But the older Spock tells the younger Kirk, when he gets marooned on this freaking planet where he runs into the old Spock and then meets Scotty, and that's how Scotty and him get back on the ship, because he gets his trans-warp signature thing figured out because of the older Spock. It deals with timeline. There's lots of timeline shit going on in this movie. And there's a really cool scene with Zachary Quinto's Spock and Leonard Nimoy's Spock at the end of the movie. I love it. I love it. It was like Nimoy passing the torch to Zachary Quinto's Spock. It was great. It was awesome to see. Good to see Nimoy back. This is just a fun freaking movie, you guys. This is a fun, action-packed, fast-paced Star Trek movie. So I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoy this movie, and like I told you guys, it's what really turned me into a big Star Trek fan. So a 9 out of 10 for 2009's Star Trek reboot movie, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed that review. Thanks for watching, and I'll be catching you on the tube later because I have spoken.